All right, we'll get started. I am Sophia Yuso. I work with the GAP program and EPA Region 9 side, and I'm joined today by Chantal Lee, Joe Tarczynski, and Kate Harper, all from the Air Division. So we're here today to talk about getting started with an AIR program. This is something that is very much fundable through GAP, and that's largely due to the letter of the GAP guidance through this idea of capacity building. So GAP is a tool to start a lot of EPA-funded programs, and it's this idea, right, of capacity building. There's a quote up here from the 2022 GAP guidance that basically says, you know, if you're trying to build out a program, get started with work, with environmentally related work, GAP is here as a funding mechanism to get that started. So why start an AIR program with GAP? Well, first and foremost, it's allowed. So you're able to do it, it's eligible, and you can just kind of test the waters, right? You don't necessarily start a program and then get locked in and have to keep moving forward. You can kind of see, right, whether or not it's a good fit for your tribe. And then in the event that you want to keep going, GAP will fund that application program or application process, and like allow you to strengthen the work up until the next level of funding that you will unlock. So I will pass it over to Kate, who will talk a little bit more about that next level of funding and also different types of AIR work that you might start looking into.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kate Harper, and I'm in the AIR program. Let's just get us, just for me to understand the audience, how many of you have a GAP program? Great. Now, how many have an AIR program also? A few hands? Great. As I see a few familiar faces out there. So let's talk today about things you can do in GAP for your AIR program. So this is a little information about the AIR program. The Clean Air Act has a couple sections that you can get funded under when you do decide, or if you do decide to do a GAP program. And if you've already started AIR work, or if you want to start AIR work, GAP is a great place to start because, well, there are limited AIR funds. And it's a good way to just find out if this is something you want to spend time and resources on, and also identify if you have AIR issues. We often suggest people take a look and do an emissions inventory. Just like find out what's going on with your AIR. An AIR program is just like a GAP program or a water program. Your travel, your training, your personnel costs are all funded. It's just like any other EPA program. And let's see. So as I mentioned, some people start with an emissions inventory, which is like doing an assessment. I was a GAP project officer, and we used to work with tribes who chose to look at what issues they had overall through all the programs. And this is just taking a deep dive into AIR work. You would look at things like, do you have industries, factories in or near your community? Do you have high levels of dust? Do wildfires come through? We look at things like that to identify what makes sense in terms of where to put a sensor or a monitor. And if anyone was in the last session, Mansell talked about indoor air. Well, you can do that in GAP. You can also do that in the AIR program. You can put sensors inside and identify what kinds of risks are inside. I work with a tribe that has a monitor it's really a sensor, but it does a number of different areas. It'll look at whether there's mold and air toxics, whether there's radon, and it's mobile, so that you can bring it into a home, leave it there, get the information, move it to another location. So you can work with your community that way. And we found that communities are more comfortable with that than necessarily leaving a sensor for a long period of time in their home. And then number 3, I have outreach and education. That's great for any program. And AIR is no different. A lot of what we want to do is identify what the risks are in the community and then let people know. So are there days they shouldn't be exercising outdoors? Are there homes that need to be cleaned because they have a mold issue? Is radon a problem that needs to be taken care of? Those are the kinds of things we want to find out. And you can do that in GAP. All of these things you can do in GAP. So some of this we've talked about already, but the places to start, I talked about an emissions inventory, looking at outside sources. You can look at inside sources. And then we have a lot of resources. Mansell left some cards up here. He's like, if anyone has questions or interest about indoor air, he's the expert. I'm a program person, so I know where to find the answers. I don't have the answers typically, but we can find them. So he's a great resource. And we also have the TAM Center, the Tribal Air Monitoring. So they do a lot. We have so many classes now that are online. So you can choose when to take a class. You don't have to wait until a class comes up and find travel resources. Although we really support tribes going to a live class. It can make such a difference to meet those people that you need as a resource and to learn what you can live. So those are 2 options. And then there's the QAPP. Who has heard of a QAPP? Okay, yeah, they're fun. They take a long time. EPA takes time going through them. We're trying to streamline that process. We're in the process of getting a national repository for tribal QAPPs. So there'll be models. If you do an emissions inventory, you won't be reinventing the wheel. There is a link up here, a purple air QAPP model that could be used. And if people need a model, typically if someone asks me, I will ask a tribe that just finished one that I work with. And I haven't had a tribe turn me down because that repository just has a few QAPPs right now. It's still being developed, but Region 10 has a couple, and I've got a couple from Region 9 tribes that have authorized us to use theirs. So I hope that what we're hoping is we can streamline the QAPP process, especially for non-regulatory informational work like an emissions inventory, so that doesn't delay your progress. And then throughout this, we have some sample commitments, like the words you would use. How would you would say staff could begin researching and attending webinars for indoor air monitoring. And then I had mentioned ITAP already, air knowledge. You can look at municipalities information. You can look at other tribes information. There's lots of ways to come up to speed. So that's the kind of, and we talked already about sensors versus monitors. So sensors can cost a few $100s. They might cost $1,000. I mentioned the indoor air sensor, and it was a couple thousand, and I was surprised it was so much initially until I found out it was mobile, and it covered a number of indoor air concerns. But typically you can get a purple air is well known. It can be a few $100s, but it's not just purple air. I made a list there, and there's an air sensor loan program. If you click on that, some of it is in Southern California, like at a library, but TAMS has sensors, and your GAP program can pay for sensors. And then we talked about the QAPPs again. The air sensor toolbox, the last link there, so useful. It walks you through an air sensor program. That's a great resource. And so is the quality assurance for air sensors. That's going to help with the QAPP. So use the information that's already out there. If you can't find it, reach out to us. Let me know. Let Mansell know. Let anyone who's on this presentation know. Don't go ahead out on your own and think, I'll just establish this myself. It's already been done. So many tribes have already done this. So let's work together as a team and get this work done more quickly and more efficiently. And again, that's another example commitment you could put in your GAP work plan. The tribe will acquire and install purple air sensors, and you'll collect data. And it really helps when you know where they're using the word hotspots, where there are high levels of pollutants. And then outreach and education, so valuable to let your community know what risks they're facing, days they shouldn't be outside, what they can do if there's a wildfire, about getting air filters in their homes, or doing do-it-yourself air filters, which have been shown to be very effective. So there's a lot of resources that can help your community. And getting, again, the commitment can be something like, we'll do a table at our environmental Earth Day fair. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment. It can be, educating a classroom or getting a flag program going. And we have someone here, Chantal, who's going to talk all about a flag program and what that means and how valuable it is. And that's outreach and education. But I think that's kind of where, what we're going to do now is Chantal Lee is going to go and talk about the flag program. And if you guys have questions, we're just going to ask at the end. Just let us know what your questions are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, everyone. I'm Chantal, and at EPA Region 9, I'm an indoor air and asthma coordinator. And today it's my pleasure to share about the Air Quality Flag Program as a potential element or a component to incorporate in your own tribal air program. So before going into the details of the program, I do want to first introduce EPA's Air Quality Index, or AQI for short. This is something you likely are already familiar with, but just in case, AQI is essentially a scale with values running from 0 down up to 500. And as you can tell, the AQI scale is also broken down into 6 different color categories. Essentially, as AQI increases, so does the level of outdoor air pollution and the health concern. So for example, here at the top of the table, as you can see, an AQI value between 0 to 50 or within the green zone is considered as good, so outdoor air is healthy. But in general, we do consider AQI values 0 to 100 or within the green and yellow zone as satisfactory, but as AQI exceeds 100, entry into the orange zone, outdoor air starts to become unhealthy first for sensitive groups of individuals, such as individuals with asthma, and as AQI continues to increase, outdoor air becomes unhealthy for everyone. So this is how the flag program works. Each day, an organization in your community, say for example, a school, a community center, a fire station, a library, really you name it, raises a flag each day, communicating to the public the local air quality. And the flags do that by matching the color of the AQI scale we just covered in the previous slide. In addition to raising a flag each day, outreach and education is a strong component of this program. So EPA has many accessible, ready-to-use tools for you to communicate about air quality, about this program, about what these flags mean, how to protect your health from poor air quality, to community members of really of all ages. And I'll get into those tools in just a second. So first, I do want to share how you can access these AQI flags. In general, a set of AQI flags do range around $100, and tribal agencies can get them at a reduced cost through GSA. Or you can also receive a free set of flags. All you need to do is email me and my colleague Eileen Shanahan, who is the Region 9 EPA Region 9 Environmental Education Coordinator. We'll send you the necessary forms in order to receive a free set of flags, and then ask you to also register on EPA's Air Now website, but that's essentially it. Okay, so getting to the outreach and education component of this program, not only is it important to raise a flag each day, but also for community members to understand what the flags mean. So first, we have this tribal air quality flag program packet ready for you all to use. This includes a customizable flyer and poster template to share information tailored to your community about this program. So you can break down what the flag colors mean, the different AQI values, and also include specific factors impacting your community's local air quality, let's say local wildfire smoke or idling traffic. In addition, part of this packet are example health and action messages. So you can play these, let's say, on a local radio station or over a school intercom, sharing steps on how to protect your health from particle pollution and ozone pollution. Also with the packet are outreach and education materials like fact sheets and bookmarks, which you can spot here on the upmost right side about this program. We've had science teachers incorporate this program in their curriculum using our lesson plans. And if you don't see like a type of material listed here or also on our webpage, please feel free to let us know. We are open to new ideas, happy to produce a different type of material that works best for your community. That's really one of the strengths of this program. It moves forward based on what communities need. Okay, so let's say you're spreading the word about this program among your community. You have the flags in hand. How can you decide each day what flag color to raise? We have two user-friendly options available. First is you can visit EPA's airnow.gov webpage. You'll see a website pop up looking like this. All you need to do is type in your zip code, city, or state, and a dial will appear measuring your local air quality forecast. The other option is you can use EPA's free AirNow mobile app. And this is a way you can measure your local air quality on the go. Okay, so earlier we talked about outreach and education materials, sharing about this program. EPA also has outdoor activity guidance based on particle pollution and ozone pollution. So here is a snapshot of our outdoor activity guidance for particle pollution. You can see it breaks down based on different levels of AQI. So for example, let's say it's an orange flag day. That means that outdoor air pollution is poor for sensitive groups of individuals. So EPA recommends that those with asthma try to keep their outdoor activities shorter and less intense if possible. In addition, when performing outdoor activities, individuals with asthma should keep track if they're experiencing symptoms like shortness of breath, coughing, or wheezing. We also recommend individuals with asthma try to have an asthma action plan prepared. So if you don't know what that is, it essentially breaks down steps for someone with asthma to take when they're experiencing an asthma attack, and also teaches them when to take their medication, what dosage, and what type of medication to take. We also recommend those with asthma to also have their quick relief medication handy as well. Lastly, to close out this slide, we do have outdoor activity guidance specifically for schools. We highly recommend schools incorporate our outdoor activity guidance in their practices, especially since children and teens can be more vulnerable to outdoor air pollution in comparison to adults in general. So some examples are like moving outdoor PE activities indoors if possible on poor air quality days, or having PE activities earlier in the morning versus in the afternoon when ozone levels can be higher due to higher temperature levels. Okay, so let's say in the past few slides, you may be thinking, switching out a physical flag may not be in the cards for me right now. Not to worry, we also have electronic options available. So the first type I want to share with you all are these virtual flag signs. So these could be shown on electronic displays such as outside of a school or outside of a library, at a library entrance area, for example. And essentially you'll do the same thing where you'll check your local air quality forecast and select the corresponding air quality flag sign. In addition, we have this flag program widget, which you can upload onto your homepage website. So when people go onto your website, they can see the local air quality and also understand they need to take any necessary precautions to protect their health from outdoor air pollution. We also have had schools be very creative. For some reason, the photos aren't appearing, but you can use your imagination. We've had schools create flags out of construction paper and create displays, still teaching about air quality, the different levels of AQI, and about how to protect your health from outdoor air pollution. And lastly, EPA has many children's books and activity books teaching about air quality. We actually have an exhibit table here down the hall. They're very difficult to miss it because when you walk down the hall, it's straight ahead. But if you'd like to pick up any physical copies we have on air quality, please feel free to stop on by. One publication we do have is Why is Cocoa Red, which teaches about air quality in the context of wildfires and is available in 7 languages, including the Navajo language. If you'd like to see our publication translated in a different language, please feel free to reach out. We would love to increase our accessibility of our materials to all communities here. Okay, so as you consider whether or not you'd like to join the FLAG program, I'd like to close out my part of the presentation by highlighting the benefits. First and foremost, it raises awareness on air quality and air pollution and protects those who are most vulnerable to air pollution. In addition, if a school in your area is considering whether or not they would like to participate in this program, it does help them achieve recognition as a green school with the Department of Education. And lastly, it's a relatively easy to implement and maintain program, and it's a fun, interactive, hands-on way children can learn about air quality. And with that, I will leave the QR code here for the FLAG program if you're interested in learning more. And please feel free to reach out if you're interested in setting up a FLAG program in your area. We'll love to work with you in doing so. And with that, I will hand it off to my colleague, Joe, to talk about other funding opportunities.
Thank you, Chantal. Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Tarczynski, and I'm going to give a brief plug on some funding opportunities at the EPA. So specifically, mobile source funding. And I'm also joined by some colleagues in the second row, Esperanza Perez and Lauren Badicher. So we're all going to be resources at the conference if you'd like to come up and talk to us. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to leave up this slide and give you a really brief spiel. So our the first program I want to talk to you about is our Clean School Bus program, which is a program authorized till 2026 to replace diesel school buses or older school buses with clean energy / alternative fuel buses. And this is, we have a rebate program actually that is open until January 9th, I believe. So exciting opportunity. If you want to talk to us, we can tell you more about that. But, you know, if you have kids that are riding old diesel buses, you know that it can be very polluting and dirty. So getting those off the road is our priority for that program. And then we also have the DERA program, which is our Diesel Emission Reduction Act. And this is a longstanding program, so it's been around and it will be around for future opportunities. Right now we have a tribal and territories competition open, so that closes December 6th, which is very soon, but we'll have future opportunities. And this is to replace, again, also older diesel equipment, vehicles, technologies, and get newer technologies, newer engines, or replace them with clean energy technologies. So maybe agricultural equipment or vocational vehicles, trucks, anything you can think of. I'm sure we can find out the eligibility and help you get that project started. So we'll be at the conference today. You can find us at the same table that Chantal mentioned down the hall. And if you have any ideas of projects you would like to do, equipment you'd like to replace, or buses, please talk to us and we can help you figure out if it's a good fit. Thank you. Oh yeah. I'm going to skip over. I have a ton of slides, but you can access them on the website if you want to check out this information. I think we're going to start questions now.
Does anyone have any questions about anything we've covered? or even something that we maybe should have covered that we didn't cover.
You talk about the buses and stuff, and you're talking about the engines. You're going with battery operated, is that what you're talking about? And if so, what are we doing with all the batteries then that are going to come from all the problems with that?
Yeah, so for the Clean School Bus one, the program is authorized to replace, you can purchase battery electric, and then also you can also purchase alternative fuels, so propane, CNG. But yeah, to your question, I think that is definitely a question we're asking and like doing research on. So I don't have the answer specifically to that one, but something I'm very interested in as well, through recycling and however we can, make this technology actually be environmentally.
Nobody's ever looked at that picture really too seriously yet, 'cause we keep
Yeah.
looking at it that way, but we're not doing nothing for it.
Yeah, so I wish I had a better answer for you, but yeah, that is definitely something I'm also concerned about. But yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Is the tribal QAPP repository available online yet?
I can put it out right now, as I know there's just a couple QAPPs there. So I will, when I find out, I don't know, I didn't put anything up yet, but I will send out a link to it I have all of the environmental directors in the region. We have a list of them and share that information. Another question?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Tanya from Picayune in Southern Sierra area. I have a question with the DERA, Diesel Emission Reduction Act. So we acquired a D7 and we don't have like any paperwork showing that it's ours. We acquired it through the GSA program with the BIA. And would that hinder a decision in the DERA application process?
I'm gonna give this to Esperanza.
We don't require any sort of documentation to be provided when you apply. Just have to do, basically you have to certify that it's your vehicle, you sign a thing. You don't have to provide any sort of actual documentation though.
Thank you.
Also, just a plug, the DERA that has no mandatory cost share for tribes, so free money basically.
Another question?
Yeah, Ryan Eberly from Gila River. I just had a comment on the flag program presentation. I know one of the challenges, we've been kind of off and on implementing this for a number of years. One of the challenges that we've had is that there's separate guidances, like outdoor activity guidances for both ozone and PM10. But when you're trying to communicate that to community members, it's very difficult for them to look and see, okay, because usually the AQI that's put up is whatever the highest AQI is. And oftentimes it may not say if it's ozone or PM10, they'll just have a number. It's challenging to try to communicate, well, if it's PM10 that's high, you need to go to the PM10 guidance. And if it's ozone that's high, you've got to go to the ozone guidance. We've tried to combine those into a common guidance on our website, so that when there is a high AQI, or they can just go to that one particular guidance. So that might be something to take back to whoever's putting together the guidance for these, to see if there's a way to combine those into one, just to make it easier to communicate to people.
Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. I will definitely work on combining those two guidance sheets because that definitely makes sense. If I can connect with you after our talk, give you my card, and then we can for sure follow through on this ask. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, John with the Rincon Band of Lucenio Indians. So you're talking about electric school buses, and then also there was the CNG or the propane buses. What are the emissions like on the CNG and the propane buses?
I don't know that answer off the top of my head. I think it's like less than diesel, like the older diesel. So there's some improvement from that, but I don't know if I have the specifics. You
But they're lower in emission.
Right.
Clean alternative.
Right. So like cleaner. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. Who asked the question? Short legs. Sorry.
Hi, my name's Felicia from the EPA Nation of Santa Isabel, and this question is probably for Joe. With the bus, where is the technology for, like, many of our kids, some of our kids spend an hour and a half on the bus. And so I know a big problem and argument on the school district's point of view is that they just can't take that chance that the batteries are going to last that long. One of our districts is just under 620 square miles. So do you have any insight on how to combat that kind of argument that we get from the community?
That's a really good question. Yeah, it's definitely like personal of like what option is the best option for your community, and I think we could definitely, if you want to reach out, we could maybe provide some educational materials. We have some workbooks and educational materials at our table, but another part of like choosing what technology is best is, you know, maybe the DERA program is better of, hey, we're going to replace this bus through the DERA program, and that's, you know, for a more advanced diesel technology, or you know, it's finding that balance of like, oh, we want to use the propane because you know, where this is rural and we don't have the infrastructure. Finding where that sweet spot is of which technology to choose is definitely important. So hopefully we can help. Maybe we can reach out and talk more about the technologies and what the understanding that we have to, yeah, help you with that.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
To help you with your question, sometimes they have events like in different parts of the country where they call them like EV fleet events, and they show you like what different manufacturers are making for electric vehicles, like semi trucks, like fleet type vehicles. So that might be an option for you to check out to see what's out there in the market.
This is Lauren. I'm also with the Clean School Bus Program. I was just going to add, we work with the Joint Office of Transportation and Energy, and they can help school districts kind of do assessments to determine, do you have different, you know, routes, maybe some that are shorter that might be better fit for EVs. So we talk to school districts about looking at not just, you know, your longest routes, but are there options where an EV might be a good fit for certain events, but not the best fit for all of them. And you can kind of do a mix of technologies at different times based on what would be the best fit. So there's flexibility and things like that.
Any other questions about any of the topics? I see one in the back.
We have an online question.
Great.
So this question is from Irene from Fort Mojave Indian Tribe. In the presentation, there was mention of unlocking other levels of air quality programs and resources. Can you elaborate on that? How many levels are there to run an effective air quality program?
I'm not quite sure of the question, but what I can say is in terms of levels, starting at the assessment, emissions inventory, and then people often go to sensors and maybe a monitor. It starts at an informational level. If this was answering the question, is regulatory. And there's a big difference between those two programs, and it does take a great deal of time. With regulatory, you have a higher level of auditing and quality assurance work. You also have to have backup monitors so you don't lose information. This is regulatory information can be relied on to make determinations about air quality, whereas informational is for the community and others to understand where the air quality level is. It's just not relied upon to the same level. Does that answer it? Do people have any questions about that? To tell you, I think we have 4 tribes that are in our region that are regulatory, and the remaining, we have about 30 air grants at any given time. And so to tell you that 4 are regulatory, it gives you maybe an understanding of the role that is. It is possible, and it's something I know a lot of tribes that I work with are interested in regulatory, and I think it's a great goal to have, and it's something every tribe can work towards. But it takes a great deal of time and resources. So that's kind of the levels I would discuss. Is there anything else that we could, oh, there's a question in the back.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aleli Baños. I'm the Indoor Air and Asthma Coordinator. I work with Chantal. And I wanted to share, for those of you who stayed to the very end, a big secret, in case you didn't know. I didn't know, so every time and sometimes I even forget, but there's air quality sample work plan templates that are online that Region 10 put together. This is for GAP. So if you're ever sort of in a bind trying to think, oh, what do I add to my work plan this year? Because I know every year you have to rewrite your work plan. These sample work plans are really useful. They can give you some really good ideas on what to propose, for the upcoming year. So if you do a search and you type in, I just did a search on my phone. It was like EPA air quality work plan templates. They come up, and they have one on assessing air pollution concerns and sources, healthy homes assessment and outreach, schools environmental health assessment, outreach and education. They have one on residential wood smoke reduction, one on road dust emissions reduction, one on emergency preparedness for wildfires, and a diesel emissions reduction work plan. So they all have like really cool steps on like where to start, what to do, who to contact. And of course, Region 10 put these together, so it'll have like Region 10 resources, but you would just have to do a little bit of research to see, okay, who do I contact in Region 9 instead of using that Region 10 resource. And of course, rewording the template so that you're not just like copying and pasting is always important as well. But those work plan templates are really useful. And sometimes they're hard to find. So I wanted to make sure that you all know that those are available.
Thank you, Alali. That's very helpful. Any other questions? No more? Well, I think we appreciate everyone's time. We are here for the remainder of the conference, so if you have questions, don't hesitate to just ask us. Thank you.